guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking onto this video, and please don't forget to subscribe before you leave. Okay, so today I wanted to do something a little different. I usually go for a very cat eye shape. If you guys have seen any of my other tutorials, I usually just stick pretty much to that shape, but I wanted to have a little bit of fun today and play with this gorgeous baby some more. So what I did was a very neutral, in my opinion, neutral, wearable halo eye tutorial for you guys. So if you want to see how I got this gorgeous look here, then please keep watching. Okay guys, let's jump right into the tutorial. So I just want to let you know I have already primed my eye, and I used the Anastasia Beverly Hills eye primer, which I have mentioned before, but I am really liking. So if you're curious about this guy, give her a go. Alright, so we're going to jump into the palette. So like I mentioned, we're using the Natasha Denona Biba Palette for this look. So I'm going to take my Goss 16 and I'm going to start with this shade here, Tone. And what we're going to do is just work that into the crease. Just to dip my brush, tap off the extra, and we're going to start by first kind of laying it on. And then slowly putting it through the crease and bringing it all the way into our inner corner, since we are going for a halo look. And we're just going to continue building this up using both circular and windshield wiper motions until it's reached a good, decently blended out, decently pigmented level. So I don't know why, but I never usually do halo eyes. I actually really enjoy the way it looks. It's just because it's not like a go-to shape for me. I don't usually find myself doing it, but I really want to go outside of my comfort zone with makeup. I find, like, I don't know if you guys can relate, but it's kind of, not that it's getting boring, but like, I mean, there's only so much you can do over and over, right? I think it's nice to sometimes step out of your comfort zone and take on something like that. I'm not saying halo eye is revolutionary, but for me, I don't know, it just, it's a different type of look, and I do really like it. So I'm just continuing to build that up into my crease and not forgetting to bring it right into the inner corner here. Okay, so after we've sufficiently built up that shade, we're going to move on to the next shade, and for that I'm going to grab my Anastasia A25 brush, which is also a blender, and we're going to dip into this shade Buff here, and we're just going to go a little bit lower than where we placed the original tone color and just begin to build our gradient up. I'm beginning by patting it onto the outer corner as well as the inner corner. So we're making sure most of our pigment is in the inner and outer corners, so we're just building that up and then just running it through the crease as well, so that it creates a kind of, you know, halo. So once I'm here, before I move on to the next shade and deepening further, I'm going to take a clean blending brush. This is a Smith 232. I'm just going to dip into this Tusk shade here in the corner, and what I'm going to do is very lightly just brush out my edges here. I want to make sure everything is nice and blended and blown out, because that's how we're going to get like this impactful look. Okay, so once we're here with this shade, we're going to actually dip in with a smaller blender, and that is going to be our Goss 19. And I'm going to go in with this cocoa shade here. It's this rich, beautiful brown color. If I didn't mention, this palette I am so loving. I'm so beyond impressed. I actually own the gold palette as well, and this to me is way nicer. I've been loving using it, and yeah, I'm really happy I picked it up during the sale because I did not want to pay that price for it. With this cocoa color, I'm just patting it in the corners and kind of just blending it at the top here as well, creating like a bridge between the two. But again, we are making sure most of the focus of the pigment is on the outer and inner corners. More on the outer, because you don't want to go too ham on the inner corner. And then using patting as well as circular motions, just make sure you really work it into what we've previously laid down. So once you've put that down, what you're going to do is go back in with that buff, just right over top, just to make sure you're getting it as blended as you can. And I know a look like this looks crazy and messy as you're doing it, but it all ties together in the end. Okay, so once you've taken that cocoa shade to about here, what we're gonna do now is go even deeper, and for that I'm gonna take my MAC 216 and I'm gonna dip into this spot shade here. I can't quite figure out if it's like a suede or a full matte. It doesn't seem fully matte, but I kind of like it for that reason. Out of all the blacks that I own, it is the easiest to use and blend out. I'm very, very much intimidated using blacks. I'm always like, it's gonna ruin the look, it's gonna be too overpowering. This one, for whatever reason, just really, really works well. I don't know if it's because they made it more like very, very lightly having mica in it just so it blends out better. I'm not sure, but it's really, really nice. So with that 216, what we're gonna do is very, very concentrated. We don't want to take this and get too crazy with it, but what we're gonna do is kind of work it into this corner and then a little bit into the crease. So first starting with this corner and into the crease, just kind of patting motions, just like that. And then we're gonna actually go as well in the inner corner with the dark, dip a little bit back in. Really shake it off because we don't want to do too much. And I know it looks crazy right now, but when we blend it out, it's gonna do exactly what we want it to do. So I'm just placing that in the inner corner, patting motions again. And once that is on, what I'm gonna do is turn my brush this way, and I'm going to very lightly trace my crease, very lightly, like it's like a feather light touch, just to get some of that darkness in there, because it's going to really, really help that halo pop. Once we've placed that on and roughly, kind of precisely, but like very lightly ran it through the crease, we're going to dip back in with our Wayne Goss 20. We're gonna go into that buff and cocoa shade again, and we're gonna go right over top of that black to help blend it out into the other shades we put on, so everything just looks deeper and seamless. I'm using circular motions as well as patting motions. So once you've blended that out to a level you like, what we're gonna do again is go in with our semi-clean blending brush. I'm gonna dip into that tusk color here at the end. It's like a wheat color, I'd say, like a beige. And I'm going to dust that off very lightly. Again, I'm going to run that over top of everything to make sure we're keeping everything clean and seamless. Okay, so once we're here, I'm gonna dip back in with my Wayne Goss 20. I'm gonna wipe it off here on my pants. And then I'm gonna go in with this yellowy shade here, Prairie. And what I'm gonna do is lightly brush this on the top of where the color is. I don't know why, but I did it with this eye and I just love what it did to everything. Okay, so once we're here, what I'm gonna do is dip in. This is a crown brush. I have no idea what the number is. I want for this look a very soft cut. So what I'm using is this, it's like a packer brush, but it's a larger shadow packer brush. And I'm taking this instead, I usually use my Shape Tape, but for this look, I wanted to use the Nars, what is this called? This is the Nars Cosmetics Soft Matte Complete Concealer. I feel like it's really easy to work with and just zhuzh into it being a more soft cut versus the Shape Tape that's more liquidy. It like really just cuts and gives you that straight line, and that's not what we're going for this look. So what I'm gonna do is just pat into the center here, just patting motions, and because it's a cream and not a liquid, it kind of just blends really, really easily and does exactly what you're looking for. And make sure you kind of keep it centered since we are going for the halo eye look. Just the patting motions are pretty much going to blend it into the shadow itself without you doing too much. And if you find this line, this differentiating line is too hard, just really wipe off the brush you're using and just pat out the corners, and you'll find that it kind of just blends into itself. So once you're here, what we're gonna do is dip into the shimmer. Where we lay down the concealer, we're gonna put this shade Shine. I'm gonna load up my finger here and I'm just gonna place it on. I'm gonna tap it on, just like that. Such pretty shimmers in this palette. So once our shimmer is tapped on, what we're gonna do is go back into the shade Buff here, kind of go in between Buff and Cocoa, and we're going to just re-deepen up the inner and outer corners, just to make sure they didn't get messy while we were laying down our shimmer. I'm using the Sigma E36 brush, and I'm just loading it with the shade Buff here, and just kind of going over top of the inner and outer corners where the shimmer and the matte meet to make sure we get a nice seamless blend. Now I'm gonna go back in with my Wayne Goss 20, dip into that buff shade just one last time, and just make sure everything is beautifully blended to our liking. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, we're almost done with the look, but I wanna add a little bit more pop to the halo. So what I'm gonna do is go in with this shade Monroe here. This brush is semi-wet, and I'm just gonna load it up here. And I'm going to, right in the middle of where I place the shimmer, gently place this down because it is a tad bit lighter, and it's just going to give more dimension to the look. Okay guys, we're pretty much done with the shadow portion of this look. What I'm going to do is hop off camera, draw a black wing liner, as well as pop on some lashes, and I'll be right back to do the lower lash line with you guys. Okay, so I have added the liner and lashes, and now we're going to move on to the lower lash line. And for that, as per usual, I'm going to be using my MAC 212, and this is a flat brush, so it really works well when you're trying to tight line. So what we're going to do is go in first with the shade Cocoa, this shade here, this beautiful brown. And what I'm gonna do is stamp that right along the waterline where my lashes are. Very, very as close as we can. And we're gonna bring that right to where the iris ends here. And just kind of stamp like that. Then what we're gonna do is go into Spot, which is this black shade here. And what I'm gonna do is very, very lightly, just in the outer corner, stamp on top of that brown. Just super, super lightly. We don't want it to be too dark. Just like that. And then once that's done, we're gonna switch brushes. I'm going to go in with my Wayne Goss 20, and what I'm gonna do is dip into that buff, between buff and tone, which is, if you recall, the two shades we started with. So we're gonna dip in between those and really tap off the extra. And what I'm gonna do is hold my brush kind of like this and then make these motions. So I'm just gonna very, very gently smoke out what we just laid out. Okay, so once we've smoked that out, what I'm gonna do is put on some of my Milk Makeup Mascara on the lower lash line and finish it off with my Bonepart Nars Gel Liner. Okay guys, I finished the lower lash line, and this is the final look. I absolutely love the way it turned out. Like I said, I'm not usually huge on halo eyes, but I really do think it's really pretty and actually really wearable. So if you guys ever wanted to, like, you know, delve into halo eyes, don't be afraid. It's honestly not as hard as you think. If I can do it, you can do it. Just always remember that. So yeah guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you learned a thing or two. And please don't forget to like, give me a comment, tell me what you want to see next. And please don't forget to subscribe before you leave. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you on the next one. Bye guys.